Let's call the meeting to order.
Roll call. Dennis Bender.
Here.
Donna Davis.
Here.
Maria Okpara, yes. Rick Raleigh.
Here.
Wilson So.
Yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance. If you please stand. Ready? Go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kylie, do we have any public comments pertaining to closed session?
We do.
Good.
This comment was submitted by Christy Croft, AVUSD president, regarding agenda item number B5. Members of the Board of Trustees and members of the district administration, I wanted to speak to you today to give you an update on how AVUSD feels that our district is running at this point. In unprecedented and challenging times, it is a positive update because our schools are running as well as they can. Though teaching is very stressful and there are many days with tears, our members and all other district employees are working hard with incredible dedication and effort to ensure our students get the best possible education right now. This situation is a better learning environment than in any district we know because AVUSD and the AVUSD are doing an excellent job of working together right now. When we work together, our district can accomplish great things, and that is what we want for our students. We are currently working collaboratively on the return to school in a hybrid model, and that work is going very well. We hope this plan will proceed quickly through negotiations to meet the timeline that Ms. Nelson has presented to you. Our goal is to return to safe classrooms and safe schools as soon as we can fulfill all of the state's waiver requirements for each instruction level. Board Policy 450 states that you recognize that staff has the right to a safe and secure campus free from physical and psychological harm. There are certain things that some of our members need to have to feel safe to return in school instruction with their students. When we bring these items forth in negotiations, you consider their importance to those members who need them. As Mr. Schulenberg has stated many times that we have COVID-specific money we have to spend by December. The items we are requesting, such as portable plexiglass, student corrals, and classroom air purifiers, are not unreasonable. Our only worry is that if we can order these items in time and have them in our hands before returning to the classroom. In an unprecedented move, AVUSD will share a draft of our negotiations language before negotiating with AVUSD today so that they know ahead of time our needs. I think this shows how much we believe in the process of working together towards a common goal. New problems arise daily, but with a collaborative effort, we solve many of them, and our instructional effectiveness has improved significantly. We are confident that no matter what problems the future brings, we will work together to overcome those issues. We want to thank everyone who has been working openly and diligently on keeping schools running during the pandemic. We especially want to thank Mr. Wheeler, Mrs. Castillo, Mrs. Shelby, Mrs. Torres, Mr. Slosher, Mr. Schulenberg, Mr. Conrad, and Ms. Nelson for their hard work with our members who have volunteered to be on the committee, because our work together is getting us closer and closer to a return to classrooms. Thank you, Christy Croft, AVUSD president.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to go into closed session. These are the items we are going to be discussing at the closed session. Public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, transfer, leave, title, certificated and classified employees. Public employees appointment, resignation, retirement, reduction, title, certificated and classified employees. Conference on Litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9A, current litigation, 4 cases. CIVDS 1813952, CIVDS 1907172, CIVDS 1937043, CIVDS 2011183, Government Code Section 54954.5C and 54956.9 D2 and E1. Anticipated litigation, 4 cases, 2018 to 19, 07, 2019, 20, 07, 2020, 21, 01, 2020, 21, 02. Conference with Real Property Negotiator, Government Code 54956.8. Negotiating parties, Matthew Schellenberg, Apple Valley USD. B, APN number 3112-241-71-0000, CJC Holding LLC. B2, APN number 3087-171-07-0000, Frontier Land Holdings, Inc. B3, APN number 0439-012-20-0000, Omni 2012, Apple Valley LLC. B4, APN number 0439-012-21-0000, Omni 20.12, Apple Valley LLC. B5, APN number 0439-012-22-0000, Omni 20.12, Apple Valley LLC. Conference with Labor Negotiator. A, Agency Negotiator Dustin Conrad. B, Employee Organization Apple Valley Unified Teachers Association. 6, Conference with Labor Negotiator, Agency Negotiator Dustin Conrad. B, Employee Organization California School Employees Association. 7, Conference with Labor Negotiator, Agency Negotiator Trinae Nelson. B, Employee Organization Unrepresented. 8, Superintendent's Evaluation. Now I ask for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is in order.
Public session.
We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I always want to finish with amen.
We're at student representatives, Granite Hills High School, Erin Bogart.
Help back live. Good.
Think of all the countries in the world that wish.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Nelson, and attendees. I hope you all have been happy and healthy since the last time we spoke. In the past month, Granite has been very busy promoting school spirit and educating students from afar. In order to aid distance learning, our phenomenal tutoring center opened back up in order to help students with any subject or assignment they're struggling with. Students in need of assistance schedule an appointment, and one of our Cougar tutors helps them with anything they need help on. The wonderful program is not just available for Granite Hills students, but for all students in our district. We hope that many AVUSD students will take advantage of this program so everyone can continue to succeed. As San Bernardino County conditions permit, our fall sports have also started back up while enforcing social distancing. Our athletes practice and work out in small, socially distanced groups in order to prepare for their upcoming season. Not only does this allow them to prepare for their season, but it provides them with a sense of normalcy. We look forward to seeing them compete as soon as their season begins, as we know that their determination will allow them to succeed no matter the conditions they practiced under. While we're on the topic of activities that are usually hosted in the fall, I'd like to tell you about Granite Hills' first ever virtual homecoming. Advertised as Stay at Homecoming, students of all grade levels posted pictures of themselves in their formal attire on social media and tagged our ASB in the photos. If the photos conformed to school dress code, they were then reposted onto the ASB class's Instagram page. While it was not a perfect substitution for our usual homecoming dance, it was well received by the student body and brought a lot of school spirit to the table. We look forward to hosting more events like this in the future until we are able to host our usual in-person activities. And I look forward to telling you about each of them as they come. Thank you all for your time this evening. Always remember, maroon and gray lead the way.
Good job. Stay at home.
Apple Valley High School student, Maisel Sai.
She'll stop.
Hello, esteemed board members. Although we are still in virtual learning, Apple Valley High School has had a lot of activities going full speed ahead. For 9/11, ASB posted a speech commemorating the heroes that were lost. We also had Red, White, and Blue Spirit Day to encourage patriotism. Since September is Suicide Prevention Month, a few groups have been spreading mental health awareness. The Graphics Design Club made various infographics to spread awareness. HOSA posted the infographics and helpful resources on their Instagram. The counselors made a thoughtful video letting students know that they are missed and they are not alone. They have been reaching out to students that need help, not only with their schoolwork, but also with their mental health. Other clubs and sports have been hard at work as well. The camp program is making sure that all their students are provided with proper equipment. Camp seniors were able to work on any video type or photo shoot that they would like, and juniors created a video project. Avid students created presentations on universities, and Avid seniors worked on college applications. Cheer had a uniform and gear pickup and are working on fundraisers. They also have been having virtual practices, a few virtual performances, and making videos for announcements. The ASB senior class had their first fundraiser at Newbies. Football just finished their hog raffle ticket fundraiser and have been conditioning for the past month. AVEX students worked on making wax carvings since they are not able to go on campus and work with metal pieces at the time. Journalism has been interviewing students and staff and maintaining their website by posting stories that will be used in the yearbook as well. The Sensations and Vocal Motion Choir had their virtual back-to-school recital yesterday. We now have tutoring Monday through Thursday after school, as well as on Saturdays. As you can see, we have kept ourselves busy and hard at work as we close out the quarter. We are staying positive as we power through this difficult time, and I thank you for having me. I look forward to updating you in the months to come. And always remember, Sun Devil pride is contagious.
Very good. Good job.
Kylie, do we have union representation reports, CSEA?
We do not.
AVUDA? AVUTA? No?
We do not have reports.
Okay. Closed session report, the clerk of the board will report on any action taken in closed section.
In the closed session, the Board of Trustees took action in support of the following recommendation from the Superintendent. D7, Conference with Labor Negotiator. On a motion by Dennis Bender and seconded by Donna Davis, the Board of Trustees approved the following recommendation from the Superintendent. It approved the recommended classification of Classified Director 2, requiring a master's degree to be placed on range 65 on the exempt classified management salary schedule, and the vote is 5-0. In closed session, the Board of Trustees took action in support of the following recommendation from the Superintendent. B5, Conference with Labor Negotiator, on a motion by Mr. So, seconded by Mrs. Davis. The Board of Trustees approved the following. Approved the Apple Valley Unified Teachers Association, AVUTA, Memorandum of Understanding regarding initial salary schedule placement dated September 29, 2020. In the closed session, the Board of Trustees took action in support of the following recommendation from the Superintendent. In the following recommendation from the Superintendent. B5, Conference with Labor Negotiator, on a motion by Ms. Opara, seconded by Mr. Bender. The Board of Trustees approved the following. Approved the Apple Valley Unified Teachers Association, AVUTA Memorandum of Understanding regarding evaluation process for 2020-2021 year, dated September 29, 2020. The vote was 5-0, and that's it.
The board may approve the agenda as is, or add and pull items from the consent agenda for discussion and/or action. We need to adopt the agenda as is. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second.
Ms. Opara?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Under E, discussion information, presentation on equity and diversity progress report. Mr. Schlosser?
Yes, thank you. I have two quick reports to make. So I'll put it up on the screen. That's mostly for the folks who are via YouTube participating. You also have it printed there at your desk. And this one's short. It's a progress report on an issue that came up and gave us an opportunity to meet with some outstanding young people. And here's how this went. This is the Diversifier Narrative Group. You may remember we had several public comments that had to do with essentially texts that were read and voices that weren't heard in student experiences. And so as we gave some attention to that matter, we learned the background of this, and I'll kind of just, that's the context of this, is that this group, this Diversify Our Narrative, is a national movement. We looked into it, and we do have a local group, a chapter of students, graduates, and current students, some of them from Apple Valley Unified School District, some of them from the AAE, but still Apple Valley residents. And so we set a date to meet with them on September 21st, virtually. And so with that virtual date, what started with initially was a contact from Mrs. Nelson, who as a superintendent reached out to the parents, first of all, to make sure that this was okay for them to participate with us, to have this virtual meeting. The parents agreed. Most of them we heard back from. And so we sent an invite out. It happened to land on a date when Mrs. Nelson had an appointment to do actually very similar work with town leadership. And so I had the distinct pleasure, along with my colleagues here, to meet with this group of articulate, thoughtful, engaging students. You would have been very impressed by them. and the way they listened, asked good questions, and were solution-oriented. So we started by explaining our adoption process to them, just so they understood. We don't just grab a book and buy a bunch of them and send them to school. There's a process by which you as board members have a text brought to you after it's gone through a vetting process, had a public option for members of the public to come and give comment, and then we bring that to you. And so it's careful. They understood that, but I wanted to make sure they knew our steps. And also that we just move a little more slowly than you can sort of move in a small system. And then we talked about that proposed list of texts. They have a list of texts that are kind of that nationwide group supports. We actually mentioned this early on, and I think they sent it as part of their backup material. It's publicly available. And so what we did is we took that list and we started talking about that with these students. The next thing is what I'm sort of most excited about and proudest of for their sakes. What we agreed to do is this. Students in the group, who of course represent others, right? They have students that are, it's a larger group than could attend that meeting from both AAE, and of course we were glad to see a representative from Apple Valley High School and from Granite Hills High School. What we agreed to do is this. We asked that the students themselves vet these titles, because it's just a list of titles with a little bit of background. But what we don't know is, what grade level do they think the book belongs? What would it be? Who would it be good to read this one? Is this a junior high text? They totally took the challenge. So what they're doing is we took that list, and we added a column, and we put a column titled Student Comments. And a lot of the texts I knew, and to be honest with you, a lot of the texts already are in our system, which I was glad to see. But they are thoughtful. We actually wanted to add a couple because I had some ideas for some other things, and they're going to read them, give comments. Then we're going to take that commentary to the language arts teachers and say, here's what the kids thought. What do you believe? And lastly, what I'll say is that we intend to bring you some supplemental texts adopted kind of by grade level, because we see great value in, first of all, the texts that were listed were high quality, good, thoughtful things. Second, and like I said, many of them we already read. Second, I know that the English teachers are also clamoring for an update to the curriculum. You follow? They have asked for the same thing. Curriculum that reflects a little bit more the experience of the students who live here in Apple Valley. And so I look forward to doing that process carefully with both the students and of course with staff. And so that will be our next step, is to bring a supplemental text list. I did tell the students that we probably wouldn't get back together right away until about November, because they need time to read, I need time to meet with the teachers. So that was very productive. I think it was just about the best outcome we could have had. A quick other update is I just wanted to make sure you know we are following closely the ethnic studies curriculum development. It actually just ended its public comment period. It had a 1-month public comment period during the month of September. It just ended. Of course, we're not privy to those comments. We could have submitted one. I did not personally, but I think people had the opportunity to do so. The curriculum is available for review on the website. It is available for any member of the public to take a look at. It is a high school course that's proposed right now. It is a course. It's not a curriculum to sort of be put K-12. It is right now as it sits, it's a high school course. However, there are principles within that curriculum that can be applied to the discussion in any grade level that we feel appropriate. And what I'd like to do is once that gets approval, because again, it's not yet approved, it's just finished this last review, is bring those principles for discussion and have that be part of our next step. Not that we're not talking about the high school course, because there's actually pending legislation to make it a requirement. And of course, if that passes, then that changes our discussion on the high school side. But I just want to let you know we're watching that. It's something that I think we should attend to and be aware of. But I'd like to wait to bring you a proposal on or at least the principles until it actually passes and is adopted by the state board. Then we can talk about a target that's not moved. So that's where that is.
Thank you. And then we have a presentation on the planning steps for return to limited in-person instruction. Mr. Schlosser.
The other document, Ms. Croft in her statement prior to closed session made reference to our return to in-person instruction. I echo her comment about the fact that we're working together so well. It's been encouraging and exciting to be talking about this sense that we are taking careful, safe steps to bring some students back to in-person instruction so desperately needed. And so the update is this. Our process has been, we've had 4 meetings with a large group. The dates are there. We have participation from both bargaining units, administration, other teachers who aren't necessarily selected by the bargaining unit, but we thought would be a good addition. So we have quite a bit of representation and other, members of all different staff classes, including counselors. And so what we've done, we first started off with defining some terms. So we are all talking about the same thing. When we said waiver, everyone knew what we meant by waiver. When we said cohort, we knew what we meant by cohort. We had 3 groups in most of the breakout sessions. The cohort group, who was talking about bringing back students who might be of exceptional needs. The elementary waiver group, who was mostly focused on TK through 6, with the addition of preschool in our system because we thought they should follow the same timeline. And then a grade 7 through 12 group, who, as you know, cannot return until the county comes out of the purple and into that red widespread designation, instead, and shifts the designation by case count. And then we have to be in that red for 2 weeks. So we're a ways off of that. Say again?
Is it 3 weeks?
I think it actually might be,
October 13th.
it's 2 weeks to
October
change
23rd.
designation, and then we still have to wait a week. And it's gonna take us longer than that, to get those steps in place, but we'll have a lot of the pre-work done. And unfortunately, our data is suggesting that we're not yet starting the clock on that 2-week time. We're not in the county at the red level in one indicator. I'll show that in a moment. We made sure that every meeting we had an open forum for ideas. In fact, at one point, we just asked them to list their questions. We got hundreds of, well, I shouldn't say hundreds, dozens, over 100 questions. And then we categorized them into like questions. Sometimes there was repeat content, and we used those to drive our discussion. Quick look at the countywide data. This was a snapshot of just a couple of hours ago, and you see our issue is that per day case rate is above 7. It's 9.16, and you see how it's been climbing for the last several days now? That needs to come back down into the red and stay there.
Well, it'll change November the 5th.
It could be. It could
Well,
be.
you got a date?
We don't know. But we watch this every day.
Oh,
It
yeah,
changes
yeah.
every day. It does change every day.
Day after election.
And so we're watching that,
We'll
and
see.
we'll keep you updated on that, because that's, of course, a big one for us. Apple Valley Unified, within our school district boundaries, the data is better than the county, which is why we can apply for a waiver for TK through 6, which is a good thing for us, that we are not bound to that county level. Our district data shows 5 per day, under that 7, and it's plenty low to apply. And we're trending down locally, which is wonderful to hear. We make sure and share this each time. This is links that we send to everyone. All the guidance documents we have to follow, we make sure and share with the whole team, so that everyone's singing from the same sheet of music about how to talk about reentry to in-person instruction. So terms, real quick. So we're all talking about the same thing. When we say cohort, the return of a cohort of students, we're talking about a small, stable group, no more than 14 students, and no more than 16, including adults. That ratio can shift a little bit if need be. It could be 12 students and 4 adults in a special needs classroom. And so they are not bound by grade level. This cohort could be high school students. And in fact, we are talking about that group of special needs students returning in a cohort model, where they stay with that same adult all day for whatever time is at school. They're together, and they don't mix with other cohorts. So that's what the cohort idea is. The waiver process, this is about submitting to the county health officer a plan on their template, answering questions about how we will operate. Is it for TK through 6 specifically? And so we have all of the elements ready to submit. They're not yet in the template because we're having them vetted at the moment by the American Academy of Pediatrics, who've offered their support to our plan. But we have gathered the information, answered questions about process for cleaning, healthcare, and all the issues that go along with that, as well as things like ingress, egress, So every site has a map that's on the waiver that will be submitted to the health officer. Once submitted, and our target really is as soon as we can get this all put together within the next day or two. Once submitted, then the health officer then has, we don't know for sure, but the turnaround we think will be 2 weeks or less, hopefully less, for our answer to go ahead or not. Okay, and so the waiver process indicates that, has some details we must comply with on our data, and I mentioned already, we're there, we're good. So we can do this one as soon as we get it submitted, which we will do shortly. The waiver requires consultation with bargaining units, parents, and by survey, we've got thousands of parents who've given us feedback and told us what they want to do. And of course, these meetings I talked about have been our consultation thus far. And I will mention that also negotiation of the effects of this plan is also going to be, we will be engaging in that shortly here, as mentioned earlier. Okay, so here's what they've proposed so far. They have agreed to kind of a hybrid format for the waiver process for students in grades TK through 6. And again, we are including preschool because it makes sense to include that group. Preschool doesn't have to comply, other than once the LEA starts bringing students back, the preschool must begin to start bringing students back as well. So we're timing them together, but the waiver won't mention them on purpose because that's not what we're applying for. Hybrid model, we're talking about instead of like a morning and afternoon session, as we've kind of discussed before, we're looking at 2 days for the half that comes first, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the middle, off to clean, distance learning at home, Thursday, Friday, the other half. This is to start. And so this is a model that's actually in wide use, really across the country. Lots of schools doing this as a first step back.
So let me ask.
They're doing this all over. Yeah, that's good to know.
So you say 2 days a week and they come for 2 hours, or is that 3 hours?
That's coming. That's coming. Thank you. So the time
I'm
we're
just
looking at,
curious.
yeah, we're looking at 180 to 200. It may even be a 210-minute day, a 3.5-hour day. Remember that the law requires 240 minutes worth of school time, but that doesn't all have to be in-person time. And so some students may have some work to do when they go home. That still allows for a 240 minutes worth, that minimum day requirement. But of course, on the day they're in person, that live synchronous contact is accomplished right there at school. So that means they don't have to go home and get on a computer and connect to a Zoom lesson, for example, with their teacher. So it's a shortened day for now. The proposed start dates, again, they're just proposed. It's all dependent on whether or not a waiver is even granted, would be for the weeks right after October break and thereon, with a phased reentry of students. So they're not all coming on the first day. So that would probably start with the special education cohort first. Okay, that's not every site even has that cohort. Then TKK soon thereafter. So the TKK classes, and only half of them, remember. Then the following week, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd would be added. And the week after that, 4th, 5th, and 6th would be added to get to that full group. Preschool, meanwhile, would also be adding a class or 2 every week to then they're also already on kind of a shortened day. So this is a phased, careful reentry to allow for us to, one, get our systems in place with small numbers first, because we've got lots of things to work out. We have plans, but every plan has to, when it hits reality, get a little bit of adjustment. And so that's kind of how we're looking for now. We're gonna look at what the week looks like in just a moment. They will differ slightly between the cohort group and the waiver group. And so I want you to know that even though we're talking about the special education group as a first cohort, the other cohorts we're looking at even if TK6 comes back and that's all students who want to return, the 7-12 might continue to look at groups like English learners, foster youth, homeless students, as soon thereafter special ed, small cohorts of those students. And to be honest with you, this could include any students with exceptional needs for intervention. And this could be defined as long as we can accomplish the requirement for a stable cohort that's not moving, blending, or cross-mixing with any other cohort. That's the requirement.
So in reality, if you're looking at special education, let's assume that you have a special education group, the cohort coming in, and you're required to have no more than 16 real bodies in the room.
Yep.
And 6 of the kids have one-on-one assistance. So that reduces the number of actual students that are in there because the one-on-one is counting.
As a
is
person.
counted in this. Okay, I see. Thank you.
Mr. Solosa, I was going to say, are we required to share our planning effort with the county? I have reason to ask this question. I was in a discussion with county superintendent on Monday night.
Good question. Yes, we're going to be sharing this. First of all, you have to share it on your website with parents.
Sure.
So it's going to be publicly available once we feel confident that we've submitted a plan that's ready for the review, and of course, any approved plan. As far as the county superintendent, that's a good question. I can't speak directly to whether that's going to be a direct share, but I'm sure we'll be asked.
Barbara Alejandre has
Yes.
been working with us along with all of the county superintendents, and we've shared our plans with each other as we develop them, but they have to get to the place where they're published, and that goes to the website. So as soon as we apply for a waiver, we have been notifying each other that we're applying for the waiver, that type of thing. But that's all. There is no requirement for us to send it, but I'm sure we will attach it as here's the information.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question, I was in the county executive committee meeting, and Ted Alejandro participated in the meeting, and he said, "Oh, we have received additional safety supplies, and they're shipping out to all of us."
Absolutely. That's through Matt's department, and Mr. Donava from the county, Rich Donava, has been working with Matt's department to make sure that those things get to where they need to be. And there is a ability for us to purchase them at a discounted rate because of how they receive them if we exceed what has been donated.
Thank you.
And so to go back to your question about the special education classroom settings, and this is the proposed schedule, they would actually come for 4 days because, like you said, those classes often are smaller, even though there are more adults typically in those rooms. What they've done is they've called every family, especially in those mod to severe classrooms, to determine whether or not they intend to return. By doing that, that's given them a real sense of how many students and their aides. And we have found by slightly reorganizing classes within each campus, we can appropriately serve with that 16 body person cap.
You know, when you have those special education, they may not be K2 or TK1 or whatever. They may be junior high level students, but they have a functioning level of a TK or second. Will you be getting a special waiver for the adults that are working with them to be able to have close contact and not maintain the 6 feet?
Yeah,
distance?
I should have mentioned that. In the definition of the cohort, it specifically addresses those specialized services and they are allowed. Now, of
Okay.
course, we just talked about PPE. That will be provided
Okay.
because we have some actually medical issues for these students
Correct,
that
yeah.
must be attended to.
Yeah, you have a student who's having the trach,
Yeah.
cleaning or toileting, and all of the other services that the student needs. When I taught special education, I had students who were hard of hearing, but they needed to touch my throat to be able to hear what I was saying because they feel the vibration. So that is, that's too close a contact. So I just wanted to be clear that you had the whatever it is.
Yeah.
That'd be real close.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
real
some
close.
real
That'd
close.
be hard to be 6 feet.
Yeah.
That's good. And so that would be the plan for this group, because we know that that's in a lot of ways, like the group who needs to be at school and with their teachers so much, and they all do. For the TK through 6 model, it looks kind of like this. You can imagine that Monday, Tuesday, you have your A group of students, but group B stays home. And they are going to have an opportunity to participate in online learning. Now, that's part of why that day needs to be shorter than a regular full-length school day, because the teacher is still responsible to connect to those students who are not attending live that day in person, because we have still a state requirement for daily live interaction. And so that's the proposal. And again, this group wrestled with this and understands that, but we are, had to find a way to make this possible. And so that brings up some, and the high school, I don't even really want to go too deep into this because we're not yet to the point where we can talk about that schedule. It's here because we have students who will be attending a high school campus who are in the cohort. They should adhere to the schedule that the high school will be using when they can come back. And so which I thought was so forward thinking, is an excellent thought.
What percent don't want to come back?
Anecdotally, we've got about 7,000 parent forms returned where we've asked the question and it was asked about returning to school, admittedly, without tons of detail about schedule. It seems like we're still at about 25% who indicate that they do not want to return.
This is a recent survey?
Yeah, it's live now until,
Okay.
yeah, because we don't need 13,000 responses because we really need the TK through 6 group first. So we've got to have that group, but we need that group's responses. So we are sending dialers home daily to ask for parents to participate in this survey. It is through our Aries parent portal. So they have to log in and what they're doing is confirming several bits of data, all of them critical, but that's right now for us, the most important, which means some reconfiguring of classes, right? For those who don't want to return, they need to be in a class of students who all don't want to return. And so we can organize that properly. And then we have to get the students who want to return in this hybrid format into like sections also, which means some schedule movement, which is part of why we need time to do this.
How about transportation? How's that going to work?
Let's talk about that.
Oh, is it
Transportation
here?
and nutrition.
I jumped the ship all the time.
No, that just means we're thinking alike. I like it.
In here, you can
Yeah,
zoom in
that's
there.
perfect. The logistics of this, first of all, we may have to do some staggered arrivals and departures, especially with the cohort group versus the waiver group, because obviously the cohort group transportation is required per their IEP. We will be transporting them. The transportation in some ways is part of why the day is the length it is in order to allow for the transportation department to serve students in these cohorts without mixing the cohorts, and if we can avoid it, and then go back and do that again for the next school type, right? We run 3 flights of buses. So that takes time and will take time. And so there's some proposed start times there. So the transportation for the cohort, as far as the actual details of exactly how the routes will be, they're working on that probably as we speak.
Yeah, with the cohort transportation, the routes will be determined based on the students that are actually attending.
In that cohort.
And the ones who said they actually wanted to be
Use the
transported,
bus. Yes.
which the parents were also asked. And the parents were wonderful about giving us information.
Does that give enough time for transportation to disinfect the bus before they go right back to pick up? So I'm
Yes,
just
that is,
curious.
that time to do that is built in to this
In this
plan
one,
at this point.
Good. You'll notice that the high school start time's so shockingly late for a high school principal. I can't hardly believe that, but there was careful consideration of that time. It does a couple of things for us. One, as Matt said, allows us to stagger those bus routes. 2, the thought is for high school students who are staying, as we heard, for after-school events and conditioning, they don't have to go home and then come back at 2 o'clock. So it made good sense. It also allows the high school teachers to accomplish the distance learning portion of their day prior to student arrival. So they had really good thoughts. I couldn't believe it when they first proposed it, but as I listened to the really thoughtful debate, it made good sense. And I'm sure high school students across the valley will give a cheer that they don't have to be at the bus stop or whatever if we end up doing transportation. Yeah, that's right. So this could be good news. These are all proposed. Nothing is in stone. These are proposed, possible, pending, and lots of other words. It's just, this is all right
Subject to
now
change.
subject to change.
So when you came to that time, is that time determined by the teachers and the parents or just the teachers?
We didn't ask the parents a start time question, and here's why. In order to put another survey into the field and delay the submission of a waiver, we would have lost, because of October break, weeks. So what we thought we'd do is get this started based on our best educational offering. But again, subject to change. If it turns out that we need to make adjustments, this group's ready to come back together.
The reason I ask this question is at high school time.
Yeah.
Because some parents may be counting on their high schoolers to go early. And then when the elementary kids are coming back, they're already home so that it will allow the parents time to go to work.
Yes, we
So
did talk
if-
about that.
If they're at school when the elementary is coming back, they don't have childcare.
They don't, on either end of the day, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Either the morning or the afternoon, and we understood that. And so I'm sure we'll hear plenty of feedback.
Okay.
Yeah. Final issue is lots of questions about meal service distribution, like how do we handle putting kids who aren't supposed to mix into the cafeteria? At the moment, our proposed answer is that our meal service will continue to be Wednesdays for the week. And that we are not going to have an official meal distribution during the school day for this short day. That it will, other than perhaps the high school group, that cohort group may be allowed to bring a meal. We have some details to work out as far as that goes, but we are not going to have a traditional lunch where students are distributed a school lunch during the school day and thereby complicate our waiver process. And so at the moment, this is our proposal. Now this will phase, right? The next phase could include, and that's probably the next slide. Yeah. Next phase could include an expansion of the day, lengthening of the day, a change in the available class size as our case counts continue to go down, or we change our county designation and we're allowed to have larger gatherings. And once that occurs, we can talk about shifting our meal service model. But we can't continue to do the model we're doing now with seamless summer weekly and also serve during the school day, nor can we necessarily accomplish the cohorting that we need to in the cafeteria. Mr. Sutton.
I was going to ask, yeah, I know that we distribute the meals on Wednesday, okay? These kids take these meals home. But what about say, the, food service, provide kids, are they able to be allowed to eat, say maybe a small sandwich
Their desk,
during the school?
on their desk, because they're not going outside. There's gonna be wherever they're sitting, they're not.
Yeah,
allowed
I
to
mean,
be
they
out
could
and
go
about.
outside if they are together and not blending, because outside's actually a really
A better
wonderful place
place.
for us ventilation wise and those kinds of things. So those kinds of things, we could work on that as long as we're not providing it through the cafeteria. Or if we've provided it on Wednesday and they bring
They
it,
bring it to
bring it.
school.
then we could accomplish that. So we are gathering information. This is where it sits today. Thanks for sitting through this. I'm so proud of this group. The statements would just give you goosebumps when they say things like, I know this is tough, it's difficult, but I want kids back. And I'm sure you're hearing it too. So I'm
I
proud
didn't mean
be
to be
part of this.
sarcastic, but I'm just saying that during World War II, those US soldiers in the Philippines and the jungles, they brought in the dry rice and they eat whatever they can.
Yeah, I suppose your standards change. The hungrier you get.
In your discussion on school opening, because these teachers and the classified will be coming in for a short period of time, did you guys discuss childcare for those teachers?
Yes, thank you.
How is that going to work? Because you're trying to keep them in their little bubble.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're trying to keep them in a bubble, I'm just curious about how that will work for teachers who have children and there's no childcare. From what I hear, childcare providers are not taking new bodies in because they have their bubble of kids that they're already seeing. So did you guys have that discussion at all?
We did, and actually, I think maybe this is one for Mrs. Nelson to answer.
So we get these regulations that tell us that we have to have stable cohorts. But what you have to realize is some of those stable cohorts, some of these kids will be in more than one stable cohort.
Space.
For example, the kids riding the bus. That will be considered one stable cohort initially, and then they'll go to their class where we
Then
might have to
another
trace
cohort.
differently based on who they have been with. So in the situation where we have child supervision, we are not calling it childcare for a variety of reasons, but child supervision. We did offer that to our classified staff because they did not have the option to stay at home to work. We have indicated that we will expand that offering to our certificated and actually managers that have children within our system, so that on the days that they are not in an in-seat program, they can be maintained in a stable cohort in a child supervision class if the parent so chooses to do that for our staff at this point.
So they stay in that cohort, they don't mix it around?
Correct.
Right,
So,
okay.
so the example might be that a teacher has their child in their own class, right? But then on, obviously, if that's group A, then there's a group B on Thursday, Friday. Well, that child couldn't stay with their parent in their parent's classroom. They would need to go to the child supervision class if that was the option for the parent, so that the child is now in a different cohort on Thursday, Friday for just that period of time. That allows us for the tracing, the requirement of notification. There was a bill just signed into law that will now move at effective January 1 with some other regulations for us as far as notification and all of those things. So it sounds strange, but the reality is that is the capacity that we have, so that we're not actually taking out potentially 2 cohorts that are in-seat cohorts, right? You may end up with an in-seat cohort that has to stay home quarantine and a child supervision class that has to stay home under quarantine, but that would be the limit.
And
Thank you so much.
How do you staff that child supervision room?
So we currently have staff in our MOU with CSEA. We are allowed to ask staff to staff those rooms. And so Dustin did do a reach out through a survey who would be willing to. And so there is a list. And there are a lot of people within our system that have supervision as part of their job description. And so they have been reassigned to those areas. And with only a certain number of students on any campus at any given time in this AV model, we do have some people that will still be available to do some of those jobs.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Kylie, do we have any public comments?
We do, and it's a request to make a public comment via the pilot model of a phone call. So if you guys want to pause for a moment, I am going to attempt to connect the individual.
That'll be good to hear. I'm excited.
Go ahead. I am going to put you on speaker at this time. Is that okay? Thank you. Okay, Melissa, we are ready for you.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Wetzel, and I would like to address COVID-19 as it relates to reopening schools and policies and procedures associated with reopening. Just something really quick that was a little bit troublesome to me is that neither of my kids' teachers are having them say the Pledge of Allegiance each morning since distance learning started. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick. Maybe you guys can send a memo or something like that. But anyway, I really wanted to thank Trinae Nelson and the others for coming out and speaking with me and my freedom-loving friends outside AVUSD on 9/3/2020 as we demonstrated our discontent with the closures of schools. I would also like to thank you all in hearing me out regarding additional methods of making public comment. A big first step in going back to normal is opening our town halls and board meetings and more back up to the public as it's intended to be. I hope that soon you will open these meetings to the public in person, as Rick Roel suggested in the last meeting. He's got the right idea. If I'm not mistaken, Donna Davis shared the same sentiment in that last meeting also. So thank you for that. Next, I want to express how very happy I am to hear that there is a chance that my kids' school, Sandia Academy, will open for TK and Kinder, which includes my 5-year-old. I am even happier to hear that this age group will not require masks. I do not think this will be the case, though, for all grades, As I go further in my endeavors to campaign for freedom from all this craziness, I have more and more people asking me how to get around masks in school. Many, myself included, want to send their kids back, but are not willing to do so with masks as a requirement. I have yet to find any science to back the whole mask theory, so I would like to urge you to put the burden of proof on your superiors on this matter. Lastly, I want to urge you all to go to San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors meetings and speak under public comment. You have that right as citizens, despite your positions here or anywhere else. You have a right to voice your opinions on these matters to those with some authority. I've spoken at 3 of their meetings and have gotten more people to join me. Just as I have contributed in making some small change here in partnership with all of you, we can work together to make even more of an impact. The Board of Supervisors is beginning to be publicly vocal about standing up against some of these unwarranted mandates as a result of the persistence of citizens like myself and others, and due to their own fact-based opinions on these matters. They will listen, but we must first speak. This all ends when we stop complying. As always, please let me know how I can be of service in aiding you all in your efforts towards fully reopening schools under pre-COVID-19 conditions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay.
Is that it?
Any
That's
others?
one?
That's it.
Oh, she did a good job, though. It was good. We followed it well.
It worked.
Very good.
Okay. So the test worked, and I appreciate Jason and Kylie testing this and making sure that the system was in place. So I just want to, under superintendent comments, at least say thank you to both of them for taking the burden on. The things that I would like to address under superintendent comments are what Mr. Schlosser has already stated, the sentiment that this team has come together as a work group. It has expanded over the 4 sessions at this point, and people are ready to make movement. There, the first meeting was full of questions. The second meeting, we were worried about what direction we would get and how far we would get through the process. And meeting 3 and 4, just people came to the table with solutions. They were ready to talk about how to make a difference, and people are excited about kids coming back. Recognized by teachers asking that when the TKK kids come, could they be on campus to cheer them on as they go to their classrooms? So that does my heart good, because everybody knows they need to see kids. And beyond that, I just know that change is hard for people. It's hard for all of us. It was hard to go to virtual, and it'll be hard to go back to in-seat just because of the parameters. It'll be hard to follow all of the regulations, but we are going to work through the solution, and are very lucky that the American Academy of Pediatrics is looking at our plan, which is not something that has been on a lot of people's consultation list. So we're proud that that will be part of our consultation. Board comments, Mr. So?
Well, thank you. The reason I asked some of the questions, as I said a few days ago in the evening, the county executive committee, many school board members talk about, oh, we should have a uniform, we're in a uniform San Bernardino approach on school. But I'm glad that each school district is different. And I'm glad that Mrs. Foster shared all this information with us. It is different. But I want to thank our entire staff and their parents' input and to allow the school to reopen in a logical way.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Bender?
No, I'd just like to thank everybody. I know they're working hard. We're on the cusp of getting this put together.
Right.
I feel sorry for those parents at home with 3 or 4 kids there all day. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, I was glad to hear from Pat's report. I read something this morning that a teacher had posted online about the difficulty that some of the kids are having, that they're refusing to do work, and that the rate of failure is high. And I commend people actually speaking out, because it's letting the public know what the damage is being done with these school closures. And the old saying is the cure worse than the disease at this point, and then the young lady that gave the presentation from the Sun Devils from Apple Valley High, that mental health was an issue. So, this is reverberating, excuse me, throughout the community. And it's about time that we get the schools open, because it's very detrimental, my opinion, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but my opinion, it's detrimental to the health of the students and the kids and families. So keep up the good work. Thank you. And I know that the staff is supporting opening the schools, and that's not even an issue. It's we get a roadblock from the state. So, and that's unfortunate, but thanks again.
Thank you. Ms. Apara.
I just wanted to start by thanking the cabinet for working together to come up with a plan that we can all agree to follow. So it's not a top-bottom, everybody was participating in the process. I am really impressed with that. Yes, I do agree that schools need to open. But I also agree that in order to do so, we have to do it safely. We don't have the answers. We don't have all of the facts. We don't know who has the facts because the facts keeps changing. But I do agree that parents are frustrated because this is not what they signed up for. They are not teachers, they are parents. I think moving forward, whatever we do as a district, mental health has to be a big picture that we have in place. That we need to revisit what our district counselors are doing and not just stay with scheduling, that they will now begin to visit mental health because we will definitely need that. I am also very impressed with how you have taken this AVUSD diversify narrative to the level you are going because it's inclusive. You are having the people help. We are in the people business. And because we are in the people business, it is extremely important that we listen to people. But it's also very important to be able to filter out the noise. There might be a lot of noise, but we need to have the heart to pay attention to the people. I personally would like to call this parent on the phone, if you give me her number, so that she will understand that we have a process that we are following. And we don't ever want to discount anybody's opinion. We want to be sure that we're doing the right thing. I can't wait for the school to start and for teachers to begin to enjoy what they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria.
Mrs. Davis.
This has been probably the hardest year I have ever experienced in education. And I started at this school in 1973. Some of you maybe weren't born yet. It is the absolute worst thing you can do is not to have teachers with kids. Fortunately, I think there's hope on the horizon that it won't be that long. We'll have this conquered. I just hope and pray that we can get through this and be better than we were before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under G, Public Facilities Corporation Special Meeting. Ms. Davis, can I have you read this?
Sure, sure.
This is your.
Okay, yes. I need a motion to adjourn to a meeting of the Apple Valley Unified School District Public Facilities Corporation.
Second.
Wait, I'm not quite done.
He's assumed.
For new and new business as deemed as necessary.
Mr. Bender.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous.
And now, Mr.
Aye.
Bender.
Public Facilities Corporation, roll call. I'm here. Donna Davis is present. Wilson's present. Maria is present. Rick is present. Adopt a resolution number 2021-07, approving the executive and execution and delivery of documents in connection with the sale and delivery of the Apple Valley Unified School District Certificates of Participation, commonly called COPS, 2020 School Financing Project, in a principal amount not to exceed $16,500,000, and authorizing and directing certain actions in connection therewith. I need a motion.
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Goes down 5-0. It is recommended that the Board of Directors adjourn the meeting of the Public Facilities Corporation and reconvene the regular meeting of the Apple Valley Unified School District at this time.
3:47 p.m.
Okay? Motion,
So move.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We hereby convene the regular meeting. Under I, discussion action session, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees discuss and take action on the following items. Approve the certificated and classified personnel actions as listed. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Approve the requested leaves as noted. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Adopt Resolution 2021-06, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Apple Valley Unified School District authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to the sale and delivery of Apple Valley Unified School District Certificates of Participation, 2020 School Financing Project, and authorizing directing the certain actions in connection therewith. A motion?
So move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Adopt Resolution 2021-12, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Apple Valley Unified School District approving a debt issuance and management policy in accordance with SB 1029.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Under the consent agenda, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees consider approving a number of agenda items as a consent list. Consent items are routine in nature and can be enacted in one motion without further discussion.
I move that we approve items 1 through 21.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So motion carries 5-0. And then any questions about staff reports?
No.
Okay. Kylie, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay. I have no further superintendent comments. Board comments, Mr. So?
No, I have no comment, but I just on this one issue on the financing, just saying we should clarify that has no impact, does not increase the property tax.
That is
It's
correct.
straight up fine. Okay,
That is
it's
correct.
Good to clarify.
That's correct.
Mr. Bender?
None today.
Mr. Raleigh?
No.
Mrs. Okpara? No. And Mrs. Davis? No. Okay, we do have a second closed session. And if it's okay with the board, we can have Kylie have you sign the documents now. And then we can go
Yes.
to closed session, and there will be no reporting out after closed session. So
Correct.
anybody that is watching, there is no additional readout. Thank you. So we will hold to adjourn until after closed session, the second closed.
Do we have stuff to sign, Kylie?
She's so organized.
We're going to bring the meeting back to order. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
great day.
Have a great weekend.